open the discussion to the floor. If you have a question or comment, identify yourself, go to one of the microphones, identify yourself, and we would appreciate it if you kept the question or comment succinct and to the point so that more people can join the conversation. Do we have, yes, gentleman over there?
Hello? Yes. Is it working? There we
We
go.
will collect 3 questions. So after this gentleman, 2 others, and then we'll return.
My name is Jeff Williams. I represent the Health Information Management Association in the Philippines. We're a subsector of the BPO subsector, so exactly to your point. We've met before, actually. But a question in regards to this, it goes both to you and to Amanda on the educational side. We certainly are seeing, you're absolutely right, the jobs of the future are going to change because of the aspect of technologies bringing in, taking away a lot of these lower level. We've done a great job for 20 years of turning people into robots in BPO, and now the robots are kind of bringing competition. But now the question to me is, what are we doing? Can we utilize these same AI tools? How can we utilize these same AI tools to help educate and get that next level? As a person in the above 35 group that's here, I'm going to at least say I think we've got at least another 20 years of me. I'm not the young kid. I still do want to interact with a person. So I think the voice market in this country will still last for quite a while, but we're going to have to increase their level of effectivity and how they interact. And through an AI augmentation, we can do that. But how do we use these AI tools, not just talk about replacing our jobs, but to integrate with education and help teach our people? But I'm not seeing that. I keep hearing about how it's going to keep taking the jobs away, but I'm not seeing where it's integrated.
The microphone, this is one of the hazards of technology. The microphone was not working perfectly, but yeah.
So I think the gist of the question is...
What we'll do is we'll collect another questions, and then we'll but you will take that question. Yes. Another 2 questions or comments? Yes, the lady.
Hello, good morning everyone. So my name is Angelica Misa. I work with weavers from different parts of the Philippines. Our social enterprise basically tries to reinvigorate the handloom weaving industry in the Philippines, or at least that's the dream, because in 10 years, it seems like, at least in one community in 10 years, hand weaving will slowly die away. I just wanted, it's been a thought of mine for a while now. I wanted to understand how, because for us at least, handmade is sort of like a premium for this social enterprise, or for a lot of businesses that do the same thing. And I just wanted to get, maybe like some insight on how we can let technology help us, but in such a way that it doesn't eliminate the livelihoods of these women or these weavers. So that's my question. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that question. Amanda will take that question when we return to the panel. 1 or 2 more other questions? Yes?
Professor Maharanas. The question of the digital divide, the technological divide, can be answered by intermediaries. The haves, those who are technically proficient, and those who are not, can be bridged by information intermediaries, infomediaries. In knowledge management, it's very important to have those kinds of people, and they are precisely where the education field needs to develop experts in the 21st century. What are your thoughts?
Thank you. I will get Steph to respond to that. 1 more question before we turn to the panel. Yes, gentleman over there. I apologize for not being able to recognize faces. The light is...
Hi, my name is Ellie. I'm the Strategic Human Resource Director of the Quality Health Network. As a human resource professional, I think this is more of a general question when it comes to the trend with technology versus human interface. My question is, how does the panel resolve the paradox of an ever-increasing, the encroaching ability of technology to replace jobs with the fact that population is something that's something that will continuously grow? How do you reconcile that in the future that you are envisioning?
I'd like to direct that question to Anshu, and also if Prince Fattaah and Lilia want to join that, you can respond to that. So Steph, 2 questions for you.
Sorry, can I get a clarification question? What are information intermediaries?
Techies who can speak the language of the poor. So that if your grandmother does not know a technical term, it is the duty of her grandson to translate it in language she can understand. So soon, if you don't know how to drive, you'll use an Uber.
Not in the Philippines, as it was like 2 days ago.
No, you use a Grab.
So I think all the questions are actually expressing a lot of the same anxieties that I have. How is AI going to help us or hurt us? And is it going to help us build a more equal future or a more vastly unequal future? A lot of the questions I'm hearing and a lot of the questions I ask myself at 3 a.m. in the morning when I'm staring at the ceiling is how do we build the technology, the natural, maybe natural is not the right word. The way AI has been built over the last 5 years accelerates inequality. I think that's a really blunt truth that we should all accept, that automation and AI as applied in developing nations has actually had a net impact of less jobs, that one of the flaws of a more connected world is a world where your jobs can be done by somebody else on the other side of the world, is a world where those jobs, because they're so roboticized in nature, can be replaced by actual robots who really don't need to sleep, who really don't need to do anything else. So the question now is how do we shift the paradigm? The question coming from the person who's working in BPO, the question from Atty. Lima on how we can bridge that gap. They're the same question. The question about how to use intermediaries to jump that side. I think it requires a shift in imagination by all of us. As a technologist, I build tools. Help me design those tools. One example, how do we design workflows that allow for humans to use AI to augment what they do so that they can have these wonderful phone conversations and develop relationships with the person on the other side of the phone instead of an automated voice call system taking that away from them. If you give the task to a technologist and you define it purely as help me reduce this metric of call time per person by 30 seconds. We'll build tech that does that, but if you want us to build a system that integrates a human, you need to work with us. We need to work together. That's what a lot of what my team does. We work with clients who are committed to understanding AI also and figuring out how to apply it in their own spaces so that we can imagine new types of jobs. The point isn't just to be the intermediary between my grandma and her phone. The point is that my grandma knows how to use WeChat better than I do at this point and is telling me about stuff I should build because technology belongs to everyone, because the future belongs to everybody. That's something I feel super, super strongly about.
Thank you. Amanda, we had a question about how technology can be relevant to a traditional cottage industry like weaving. What's your view? And then maybe Anshu might want to contribute.
So I think it really depends on how we perceive technology, and I think the tone in this room and in the discussion is a more optimistic point of view towards technology. And again, in the hand weaving context, I see it as where we're going to utilize this technology in the industry. For example, is it going to replace the production phase? I think it's going to be difficult because human hand it has its art, it has the heart that goes into the hand weaving activity, and especially it pertains tradition, it pertains the arts. maybe if we apply it to other parts or other segments of the industry, then it could amplify the hand weaving industry as opposed to trumping upon the jobs that is held by these women. For instance, say marketing, hoping to amplify or hoping to sort of like spread out the word about the products that these women are doing and working on. Or in another part is in inventory, for instance, instead of taking notes by pen and paper, how many products I make every day, it can be it can be put into computers and it can be customized. So it really depends on where technology is applied in the industry. And just to give an example, I think lately we see a lot of rises in the creative industry, a lot of graphic designers, a lot of branding experts get a lot of fame, and it's because of technology, it's because of Instagram, and because they can they have the platform to publicize what they do, they have the platform to put a term into something that we previously saw as an abstract thing. And with hand weaving, I think with tradition, I don't think it's something that technology can substitute in terms of production because it's years of legacies. But we can put it in other things such as like marketing and inventory, to give few examples.
Thank you, Amanda. Anshu.
So, I am also a very pro-tech person, but the fact remains that this is the power of the technology and the discussion that in the last 25 minutes, we are actually just discussing technology in a non-technical forum here. Because that's how we think that that's a solution, right? I am not worried about the job at a particular level because the fact remains that when we opted technology, when you say mobile is technology, when you say internet is technology, so you found enough good amount of job in that industry also, because ultimately human is a smart, they will find job somewhere if we work in a decent way. I am more worried about the value system. I am more worried about the environment. I am more worried about hundreds of things which are related to the technology part also. So a few years back, you called this a technology because suddenly we started getting sealed water. And you said it is a safe water and it is a technological innovation that we have started now doing it sealed water. Few years back, we all called the Tetra packing the technology. And what have we come to? I mean, if you see the environment, if you see the wastage, if you see the huge amount of environment loss which has happened because of these things, we all are aware of it. In the room, we might not discuss it, but that's a true part of it. So what I'm trying to say that yes, technology is a solution, but it's extremely important to think in the loop, and not only within the loop, beyond the loop also. So we were happy that this is technological innovation, but we didn't think beyond the loop that if we innovate like this, what will happen to the innovation and because of the aftermath of that innovation. When you say mobile has connected the world, the fact also remains that for a society, for human being, the social fabric, the human relationships are also equally important. So when you say mobile is connected, I 100% agree. But then I also want to argue on that mobile has also created millions and millions of absolutely isolated human beings, which never used to be a part of the society. So if we see the larger thing on which we are worried as the future of the world, can we really rethink over it that what are our priorities and what can be solved by the technology and what cannot be solved, or what is the aftermath of certain innovations in that context?
Thank you very much. Prince Fattaah and Lilia, join the conversation.
Oh yes, the question was, will technology replace humans? Is that the question?
The question, and this is a theme running through our discussions. So we have what appears to be a disconnect. On the one hand, we have the enormous possibilities, and we keep on hearing about them. And these possibilities have led to wealth creation on an unprecedented scale. And then on the other hand, and we see this in countries like India, Philippines, Indonesia, and many of our most populous countries, the persistence, the Vice President spoke to this one, the persistence of widespread poverty and economic exclusion. And we have these challenges. Now, the optimist would say, harness technology, and eventually all will be good. But it's not as simple as that, as Anshu pointed out. So we are now brainstorming how technology can be brought to play as a force for good. It has already in some cases, but the big picture shows a continued discussion.
Yes, technology actually is good. Technology can help humanity. Some fear that technology might replace human activities. Yes, in some instances, some disciplines could be replaced by technology, but a good number. Humans can always reinvent themselves. For example, in the arts, in the performing arts, creative arts, technology cannot replace priests. There are very sensitive jobs that require tender, loving care, which machinery, which robots cannot handle. And I believe that what robots cannot take the place of this. They don't have the spirit, they don't have a soul. And that's what makes humans, us, different. And they can never replace that. So there's no fear. We can use technology to our advantage, and also they create also problems, but let technology solve their own problems. As I was saying earlier, with the technology divide, technology itself could also solve that problem. There's so many inventions, and I'm sure technology will solve the problem of technology divide that they created, or that we created.
Thank you very much. Ms. Fattaah?
I think it's a very good point with everyone's talking about technology, how it is used, and how there's a fear that it might take over the jobs that human beings currently do. I mean, it still is the trend to be more efficient when it comes to private sector jobs and making cars and everything like that. And even mobile phones and everything are created by robots. So, but then there was a good point by Ross Lawson this morning that we need to find a way to design jobs for human beings now. I mean, that level that's where we should look at, because everyone needs to contribute. So even though these people, as you say, will lose their jobs, it's still something that we'll have to find a niche for these people as well. I mean, the human touch is something you can't replace with robots. All the robots can beat us in chess now, or go and probably write good poetry sometimes. But yeah, it still won't replace the human emotion.
Thank you very much. I'd like to now address to this great panel one question. What is your one big idea? I'd like to close this panel discussion with each panelist putting on the table one big idea. One big idea as far as you are concerned. So let's start with Anshu and go down. What is your one big idea following this discussion?
So my big idea is that for the next 2 years, people like us somewhere accept that our intentions are very good, we have resources, but things have gone wrong. If we do not have the humbleness, and if we do not leave that arrogance that we are doing everything right, I think somewhere it will not happen. I think after 19 years of our work, Pan-India, and now the model is going out also, I am still, before sleeping, when I put my hand here on my heart and honestly ask myself that I want to see 100 faces where life is changed because of us, to be honest, I am not getting an answer. And then you are roaming around in these conferences and becoming a jury for many awards. And you see the top page by hundreds of people where they say 100,000 lives changed. So I am certainly worried, and I am saying that if everyone is changing 100,000 lives, is it really happening? So it's just a very honest submission. And there is no harm. When our intentions are good, when we have resources, there is no harm in re-looking at things and then trying to work on it, because the world is changed. When we started and when we are operating and when we will operate, it is changed, and it is changed in a radical way. So our work style, our thinking process also need to change like that. I mean, that's the only thing which I think for future, whether with technology or non-technology, to me it doesn't matter. That's just one tool. But it's just the inherent thought process of a whole lot of us who have good intentions.
Thank you very much, Anshu. Amanda.
So in the work that we do, yes, we talk to a lot of teachers, but we meet other stakeholders in the education system as well, which includes parents. And I've met parents who are very wealthy, parents who are struggling to make ends meet, but there's one underlining similarity between everybody I met, and that's their faith in the education system. That's their faith in schooling, that I'm working as hard as I possibly can to put my kid, to put my daughter and my son into a good school, and to hopefully get a degree from a university and then make a decent living out of himself. And so my big idea is, when there's such big faith, I think it is our responsibility to make the education more relevant. And echoing everybody's point on the gap that is happening, there is also a gap between, again, what's happening in the classroom, what's happening on the textbooks and at the national exams that we're taking every year, and the reality that these students are facing when they sit in front of an interviewer with their CV, hoping to land. So I hope for a closer gap between what's happening in school and in real world. And how do we do that? It's through a curriculum that is less top-down, maybe, that is more localized, that when it is a school located on an island, that everybody should be able to distinguish between one kind of fish and another. When it's a school that is located in a farm, that they understand what is the cycle of paddy planting. And obviously how this curriculum is delivered in a more meaningful and more interactive pedagogy, more relevant again to how students' minds operate, and on a macro level, how it's more aligned closely to the government's agenda and where the region, where the country is heading financially, economically, and socially as well.
Thank you, Amanda. Lilia, go.